Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us today. We will give 5 minutes to ensure everyone who wants to attend this webinar is attending, and we will start at 12:05 Saudi time. Thank you. All right. As promised, we are starting the webinar now. So good afternoon, everyone. And thank you so much for joining our webinar today. to learn more about local payment methods in Oman and Bahrain and how to leverage them to boost your sales and expand your customer base. Before we begin, I would like to introduce myself. So, my name is Victoria, and I am based in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, and I'm a senior program manager for Middle East and North Africa at Amazon Payment Services. I have been working in payments for 6 years, a little bit over than 6 years now, and I'm extremely excited to share my knowledge with you today on learning about Benefit and OmanNet payment methods. Before we begin, let's discuss the agenda of our webinar today. We will start with a little introduction about those payment methods, both Benefit and OmanNet. We will look through the customer journey of using those payment methods. We will quickly discuss how to get onboarded with APS for those payment methods to start accepting payments, and what is the integration with APS looks like. We will also take generous amount of time to answer any questions you might have. In order to post your question, you should use this screen or chat on your left in this GoToWebinar control panel. And we will take all of your questions at the end of this presentation. So let's discuss. What do those payment methods stand for, right? So Benefit is the local payment gateway in Bahrain, which was created based on the regulations launched by the Central Bank of Bahrain. OmanNet is respectively Central Bank of Oman regulated local payment gateway. Both payment methods are responsible for processing locally issued debit card transactions in Bahrain and in Oman. The reason why we are discussing these payment methods with you today and why we believe it's important for you to activate them is because Benefit and OmanNet will enable you to grow your business and reach more customers in the region by accepting all the debit cards. And here's a couple of data points for you to consider. Debit card penetration in Bahrain is over 70%. In Oman, the share of debit cards reached 95%. So this technically means that by enabling Benefit and OmanNet in these countries, you allow yourself to access 70 and 95% of the respective customer base. To enable Benefit and OmanNet, merchants should have a legal entity present in Bahrain and Oman. But please don't worry, even if you operate cross-border, so you joined our webinar now and you don't have a legal entity in Bahrain or Oman, you can still process Bahraini and Omani local debit cards from UAE, for example, or Saudi Arabia, as these cards are co-branded with Visa and MasterCard schemes. So then what's the benefit of having local entity and enabling, you can ask me? Well, the reason is very, very simple, and it's the cost of payment. Basically speaking, by operating locally and enabling those channels within Bahrain and Oman, you can improve your revenue with lower interchange on local debit card processing inside the country. And as we learned just now, their share is quite big. Now, the question may come on how local payment methods are different from global payment methods, right? So for local payment methods or local switch or scheme, you may call it, all locally, originally created cards will be accepted on those schemes. For any other country, processing should be routed through different channels. The Central Bank of Bahrain mandates the use of local payment gateways for processing local debit cards. Benefit Payment Gateway accepts and processes all Bahraini debit cards issued locally. OmanNet Payment Gateway is the local switch of Oman. So OmanNet Payment Gateway accepts and processes all locally issued debit cards in Oman. By enabling OmanNet and Benefit with Amazon Payment Services, you will directly integrate with this local payment gateways on Amazon Payment Services, and as we offer all-in-one suite of multiple payment options for hassle-free checkout experience. Let's look into the customer journey, and you can see on the screen some animation for both Benefit and OmanNet. So Benefit and OmanNet are both redirection-based payment methods, and the flow goes very similar to any other card experience. Once the OmanNet or Benefit is enabled on your website, customer can select OmanNet or Benefit as the preferred payment options and click Pay Now. In case of both of these payment options, the customer will be redirected to the local secure payment. In both of these cases, the transactions considered to be secure because extra validation on the transaction will be performed at this stage. As you can see on the screen, there is an OTP verification or a PIN verification that is linked to those payment methods. It's actually a fun fact because in case of benefit verification, a PIN is required, not the standard OTP that you should receive on your mobile or via internet. So I would say that benefit is a little bit more friendly for travelers without access to the internet. So once the transaction is completed, the users will be redirected to the thank you page on the merchant website. Let's quickly go through the APS onboarding and how do you enable Benefit and OmanNet for your website. So APS, or Amazon Payment Services, we support you with the seamless integration and multiple payment of products. We work directly with Benefit and OmanNet and make your onboarding journey hassle-free. In addition to this, we also offer you a single dashboard where you can see the performance of all your payment products integrated with us. So if you are a new merchant and you want to sign up for Benefit or OmanNet, you can sign up using the APS website and you can use your Amazon login for that. You should add your business and banking information, upload your trade license, and get verified to start accepting payments. If you are an existing customer, existing merchant for us, the process is a little bit more simple. You just need to agree with us on the commercial structure. We will submit the relevant documents to Benefit and OmanNet. We will receive your merchant ID, and once the integration is completed, we can go live. So let's look into the integration aspect of Amazon Payment Services. I've mentioned earlier that both of those payment methods are redirection payment method, so they are very, very simple to integrate with. And by leveraging the seamless integration with Amazon Payment Services, you can actually integrate Benefit and OmanNet payment stack to have multiple payment options in one place. Also, you have a full control of the design and UI of your checkout experience. And our integration journey is consisting of these 3 steps, as you can see on the screen. We have a pre-live support where our integration team is available to assist you and answer technical queries via email or scheduled calls. Certification, which makes it certain that implementation you have achieved is aligned with the best practices, and we have a certification process in place for that. And after completion of certification process and all the sign-offs received, your production account will be ready to go live. We are there for you, and you can drop us an email on the email ID you can see on the screen for any questions or any additional clarification required when it comes to Benefit and OmanNet integration. As we wanted to make this webinar very interactive, I will now take any questions you might have about Benefit and OmanNet payment methods. Feel free to post your questions in the chat, and I will be taking them one by one. All right, I have a question over here. So what is the real benefit to use Benefit and OmanNet locally? Well, if you ask me, from a merchant perspective, there are 2 key reasons why a merchant would want to have local integration with Benefit and OmanNet payment gateways. One is definitely to boost the acceptance for your local cardholders there in the region, because the moment cardholder sees the Benefit or OmanNet payment method, they know they can use their debit card, which they use 95% of their cases in their life. So honestly, to grow this database of your customers, these local payments are required. But primarily for you as a merchant and our customer, we do recommend to go local to enjoy lower cost of payment. On average, there will be a difference between 1 to 1.5% in the interchange if you compare international processing versus local processing. So of course, this cost of payment is absorbed by you, right? So it's better to go local and enjoy the local payment method acceptance. And thank you for your question. I have another question here. How much time does it take to integrate Benefit and OmanNet? Thank you for your question. So both these payment methods, Benefit and OmanNet, are redirection-based payment methods, which technically means that when the customer selects Pay Now with Benefit or Pay Now with OmanNet, the journey takes the customer away from your website to the portal of Benefit and OmanNet to enter the card details there and to make sure that the card details are captured securely there. That's being said, because you as a merchant don't handle the card details or any information for that matter, nor you will be handling the OTP verification step, integration is very simple. In the best case scenario, it can be completed within 1 day, depending on your, tech readiness and understanding of the payments API. It can take a couple of days, but not more than that. Thank you for your question. I have another question here. Is there any refund limitation, same as MADA? There is a refund limitation in a sense of operational support rather than a MADA use case as such. So what happens is online refund, which is meaning you can go to the dashboard and refund by yourself, right? Or you can use the refund API and refund those transactions automatically, can be done only within the 14 days window. After the 14 days, it is advisable by the acquirer and by the Benefit and OmanNet themselves to send an email to the payment gateway to process those refunds. This is a limitation from the regulator side, and we are just following this as our standard operating procedure. Thank you for your question. I'm looking forward for more questions from you. I have a question over here. Can the merchant accept payments with OmanNet by SoftPOS? Is it available there too? Great question. Yes, indeed. Especially for OmanNet, as we discussed earlier, the penetration of this card is right now 95%, making OmanNet is a primary choice for any online payments or offline payments in the region. That being said, OmanNet as a card, Visa, MasterCard co-branded, definitely works for offline mode as well, using the soft POS machines. I have another question. Which processor can be activated for Benefit and OmanNet? And the second part of this question, do they have any special processor like KNet? You're spot on. Actually, it's exactly the same. So technically speaking, the local regulation in these regions are quite similar, with all honesty, and they are using the same PG, which is the KNet at the moment. And if you allow me to just go back probably to the slide with the customer journey, I will be able to show you that this screen over here with the page and the thank you page and the OTP verification, it's actually very much similar to the KNet look and feel. That being said, the Benefit and OmanNet transactions are processed on a separate processor as such, which is local for like local PG or local payment gateway for those countries. I have another question. Thank you so much. Keep them coming. Do APS support subscription payments with OmanNet? Thank you for this question. So if I understand this question correctly, you're referring to recurring payments, right? Or payments similarly to Amazon Prime subscription, where the deduction is happening on a monthly basis, depending on the cycle agreed with the customer. As we know, this payment is technically speaking an offline payment without, when I say offline, I mean that the customer is not present in this kind of payment and there is no OTP or PIN verification required for this specific subscription deduction. With that, unfortunately, OmanNet and Benefit both are not supporting non-verified transactions, making both of them not available for subscription-based payments. So the deduction on those type of cards can happen only with the customer entering the card and actually being present when the transaction occurs. Same limitation happens with KNet as well. I have another question. In case of downtime, so don't we have any backup processor? That's a lovely question. I actually enjoy this kind of questions indeed, because I used to be responsible for the incident management process. I'll give you a background here and a tip. So as per the regulations, in case the payment gateway of OmanNet and Benefit is not operational and there's an issue with this payment gateway blocking the transaction processing, as per the rules and regulations, there's no other way to process those payments indeed. However, we spoke about this earlier during the webinar that cross-border payment processing is still possible, right? In the event of a downtime, what we are recommending to our merchants and our end customers is to switch to the cross-border operations during the downtime to be able to not lose those customers during the downtime. So what will happen in this case? If the local PG is not operational and transactions cannot be processed, we will switch, for example, to the SAB Bank of Saudi Arabia or any other bank in UAE. And the transactions during the particular time of the downtime will be processed cross-border. Yes, the negative side, or rather the consequence, is that the cost of payment during that specific time frame will be higher on your end, but at the same time, and we as Amazon caring so much deeply about the customer experience, we know for sure your customer will not be frustrated with a decline scenario and negative experience. Moreover, during the downtime of the local payment gateway, it's advisable to navigate the customers to the Apple Pay flow, where Apple Pay transactions for Benefit and OmanNet are processed on the MPGS gateway, making it recommendable choice in case payment gateway is down. I hope I answered your question. Thank you so much for making it super interactive. I'm looking forward to hear more questions from you. I have a question over here, which is what is the MDR for accepting via OmanNet? We prefer usually not to discuss the commercial aspects during those webinars with a high audience like as such. However, if you don't mind just dropping us a note on the email listed in the chat over here, which is the merchant support-ps at amazon.com, we will be able to provide you with the exact information. It will vary, depends on your industry, depends on what is the vertical and what exactly is it that you do in Oman, because depending on the merchant code, the MDR can vary. So I would love to take this question offline if you just reach out to us. This has been great so far. Do you have any other questions? All right, I have another question here. Thank you so much. Can you provide examples of a specific scenario where Benefit and OmanNet offer significant benefit? Well, actually, yes, I can speak about one example of a merchant of ours. It's a big ticketing platform in the MENA region, and their headquarters are located across the countries, but they didn't have a headquarter in Bahrain yet. So they did have a customer there, but they were not using the local processing of benefit transactions there. So their interchange was X, right? Um, when we spoke about the possibility of opening the the local legal presence there in Bahrain, we immediately started the process for applying for the local processing MID with Benefit and the local Visa and MasterCard transactions. You won't believe it, but their MDR dropped by 1.5% for Benefit transactions from X, so that they actually felt the difference in terms of their profit, right? Technically speaking, customers didn't feel a difference because they still were able to process their transactions internationally using the outside of Bahrain acquirer. But the moment they moved in the country and they started using Benefit Payment Gateway, the experience kept the same, but for the merchant, the benefit was significant. And they were very, very happy that they invested their time in opening locally. So that's one example only, but I witnessed that myself, and I could tell that there is a significant difference. Thank you so much for your question. Another question I have, are there any fees associated with using these payment methods for both customers and merchants? Great, thank you for the question. So for the merchants, primarily it's an MDR, which is the interchange fee designed by the acquiring bank, and there are additional fees applied by Amazon Payment Services depending on our commercial agreement. Usually it will be a per transaction fee and a risk screening fee. However, for the customers, since it's just a payment using their debit cards, there are no additional charges as such. On the other hand, actually processing locally is better for the customers because some issuing banks of some debit cards may apply the additional fee if the transaction is processed cross-border. If you ever heard of Forex fee, which is usually 3% of the transactions amount if the transaction is processed internationally. This doesn't happen for all the customers, but some of them do face this increased transaction amount while transacting internationally. So for those customers, this is the benefit, but there are no additional fees as such for customers. I have one more question. So the question over here is, are there any security measures in place to protect user information and transaction? Very good question. Thank you for that. So we spoke about the fact that OmanNet and Benefit are the payment methods on the redirection flow, which technically means that you do not handle nor you have any access to card holder information such as the card number, even the first six or last four digits are not available, and the expiry date of the card. That being said, all this information is stored and only collected by the local payment gateway only, making it very secure for the end user or for the card holder, because merchant never, nor Amazon Payment Services for that matter, has access to any card holder details. I have another question. Thank you so much. Are there any transaction limitations? If I understand your question correctly, you mean like the maximum and minimum sort of cap on the transaction amount. If that's the question, that no, it's actually similar like Visa MasterCard transaction, it's pretty much controlled by the limit of the funds available on your card. I have another question, which is, which merchants are eligible for Benefit and OmanNet? Well, there are no restrictions. It's actually open for all. Any merchant who has a legal entity in Bahrain or legal entity in Oman can respectively apply to have Benefit and OmanNet payment methods. For us, as a best practice, it's a default selection for any merchant locally present there. No exceptions. How long does it take to get a transaction approved? That's another question. Thank you for this question. Um, it's actually real time. So similarly, how the experience goes with Visa and Mastercard transaction, once you enter the card details on the payment gateway of Benefit or OmanNet, and you verify yourself as a customer by entering the OTP or PIN, the transaction gets communicated with the issuing bank, and then the transaction gets approved on the spot. There's no waiting period as such, except for the time it takes to process a transaction. Okay, and the follow-up question to that, what if transaction gets rejected? What happens? Thank you. Very, very similar again. So in case of rejection due to any reason, on the sort of thank you page, right, or a transaction summary page, in the event of rejection, there will be a transaction decline messaging, and the customer is recommended to try again or to attempt a transaction with a different payment method. Very similar to Visa MasterCard. Okay, so I think we are on time, and I think you've been very generous with me of asking very, very good questions, so I'm really grateful for that. Thank you so much for attending our webinar today, and please feel free to contact us if you have any more questions. I will be very, very happy to take them up, even offline. I wish you a very, very good Wednesday ahead, and let's stay in touch. Thank you.